Let all within the grove be reverent before him. For behold, here is Bohemia's shrine, and holy are the pillars of this house. What you're seeing is the Mighty Owl Shrine at a place called the Bohemian Grove, an encampment for the very rich, a playground for the powerful. And what you've just heard are the opening lines that are spoken by the high priest in an initiation ceremony that has started every encampment since 1880.
Bohemian Grove is an activity that the elite do that helps them to be cohesive as a social class. There's so many weird things about it, but it does involve at least a subcategory of the social upper class, the power elite. And so the way that you talk about it reveals a lot about how you think about these people. Like Alex Jones sees it and he's like,
they're a bunch of evil Satanists. What they're doing is so unbelievably macabre and evil.
Honestly, like if I got invited, man, like I mean, fuck all these people, but like I would go. If they're like, come here, we want someone to make like a overly long video essay. We'll give you a reduction on dues. I'd be like, okay. All right, Mr. George Bush, sir, I'll do it. Hey, it's the Goblin Queen. Let's talk about Bohemian Grove, shall we? Bohemian Grove. Let's let Joe Rogan introduce it.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
And I say this many times, and I'll say it some more. Give me that lighter.
You got it, Fred.
Alex Jones, he's made some mistakes and some big ones, but he's also actually exposed some real shit, and he owns up to the mistakes he's made. They're not good.
No, not really.
He doesn't think they're good. There's a thing about finding conspiracies everywhere that's not good for your brain. I really believe that.
So Alex Jones, I mean, say what you will about him. Definitely don't say what fucking Rogan just said. He admits his mistakes. That is absolutely not true about Alex Jones. He does not admit mistakes ever. He will immediately lie and take down all the old videos and be like,
I never said anything like that. I don't know what you're talking about. I never said that.
But say what you will about Jones. The guy is a presence. The guy is a presence on screen. The guy is a natural communicator. He's a lot better at like doing this than I am. It's crazy. You guys are choosing to watch me instead of InfoWars right now. I mean, as you'll see in my video about Pizzagate, which is coming out soon, almost done, I'm hoping to get it out for the anniversary of Pizzagate, which is just in a few days. During Pizzagate, he was like,
somebody's got to do something about this. Oh my God, it's crazy. Oh, I've got to go and investigate it just like I did with Bohemian Grove. Oh God, somebody's got to go. Oh, they're pedophiles, they're monsters, they're demons.
And then as soon as the Pizzagate shooting happened, he immediately took down all of his old Pizzagate videos and he uploaded a bunch of videos being like,
I can't believe that like people think that I caused this. I've always said Pizzagate is not real and it's obviously a psyop. It's obviously fake. It's not real, blah, 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 blah.
Just completely lying and being like,
and you want like, guys, the food as code thing, food is not, pizza's a really common word. You see it in an email, that doesn't mean they're talking about little girls or something. Come on, guys.
And it's like, dude, you were so excited about Pizzagate for fucking every day on your show for weeks. And then as soon as the guy brought a gun to the actual place that you kept stochastically terrorizing, now you're like,
I always knew it was a psyop. It's not real.
Yeah, fuck off with that shit. God, I remember Alex Jones. Do you think the internet would be a different place if he never got banned, or would he have still fallen into obscurity? He's like nowhere now. Oh, he's still quite big. He's still very successful. I think, because he got banned off YouTube. That was a huge blow to him, but he's continued to grow after that. Honestly, his resilience has been insane. Like I can't believe that I guess he just makes so much fucking money that he can just survive anything that happens, even with history's worst lawyer. I feel like the world would be worse if he never got banned somehow, if that's even possible.
I think that if you go looking for those things and that's all you look for, and you look for them all the time, you can get real paranoid and real crazy. And then there's also a bunch of people that are trying to stop you from doing that because you do expose some crazy shit.
Yeah.
You know, he was talking about Epstein a long time ago.
I know.
A long time ago. He was saying there is a fucking island, and they take all these rich politicians and some celebrities, and they bang these kids. And I was like, come on. He was telling me this a long time ago. So he's also the one who told...
This is the thing, right? It's like conspiracy theorists, they are right about some things. They are right about some things. And that's their biggest fucking, like, the thing that they can grab onto. And like anytime something they said is proven right, oh my God, they have to highlight it. But the fact is, Alex Jones is almost always wrong. But pre-2019 Epstein talk, like during Pizzagate in 2016, Jones was talking about Epstein, bringing up Lolita Express, the Clintons are flying on his plane a bunch of times. And really one of the earliest people talking about Epstein, period, was Roger Stone, who would often do so on InfoWars, but really would bring that shit anywhere. During 2015, he would talk about it on Fox News. He wrote articles with Daily Wire, blah, 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 blah. But as soon as Trump entered the presidential race, he backed off that. He backed off the Epstein stuff. But yeah, it's fun. Anyway, I'm still waiting for them to talk about Bohemian Grove.
Told me about Bohemian Grove. Well, I actually watched it. I think this tape was actually made before I met him. So he went and snuck in to this place where like former presidents go. There's a photograph of it's Ronald Reagan with Herbert Walker Bush and a couple other people all standing around. And it's like these are the people that used to hang out at this place, and they would put on robes and they would worship an owl god, and they would burn an effigy. And they're playing, and Alex snuck in and made video footage of this shit, and then no one's denying that it's real.
So that is mostly true. Actually, funnily enough, John Ronson went with Alex Jones to Bohemian Grove in the late 90s or whenever. And John Ronson edited together his footage to be a realistic documentary about the Grove. And Alex Jones edited his stuff together to be this insane, like, what the fuck was it called? Dark Secrets. So here's young Alex Jones, by the way. Here's the documentary that kind of put him on the map. But I want to watch a different guy. This guy, G. William Domhoff. So I've been recently getting into this dude, Domhoff. Recently, I guess over the past year or so. I actually, the YouTuber One Dime is a buddy of mine. He lent me this book, Who Rules America? G. William Domhoff. Who Rules America? The Corporate Rich, White Nationalist Republicans, and Inclusionary Democrats in the 2020s. This is a book that he's written and rewritten many times. Like he rewrites it every couple of years, so it's updated. And I think he has such a brilliant way of looking at the way that the corporate class, not the corporate class, but let's call them the global corporate elite, are able to affect political change and essentially control the world as a cohesive class. Yes, getting Domhoff pilled 100%. And Domhoff, weirdly, so he's like, this guy's like a serious guy, G. William Domhoff. I'll show you what he looks like. He's a sociologist, and he specifically, his field within sociology is power studies. So here is him, best known as the author of the best-selling sociology books, including Who Rules America. Wow. He's best known as the author of several best-selling sociology books. Like, these are not really like crazy-ass conspiracy books. Like, this is a respected academic guy. He's a little bit of a weirdo. His other interest is in the scientific study of dreams. So he actually, he works with, his research advocates a neurocognitive basis for future dream research. So, he's maybe a little bit weird, although I guess there's probably, I'm sure there are, I don't know. I hear somebody studies dreams, I assume that they're like, oh, what do you know? How can you tell the future from, I dreamed a white beetle crawled across my shoe. Does that mean I'm about to become rich? But no, dreams technically are a thing. I don't know. But yeah, he's a really smart guy, really cool dude, talks a lot about the power elite. He's got a cool website called Who Rules America, where he posts a bunch of cool shit, whorulеsamerica.net, and he really explains how power works. I wonder if I can get I think this one has the famous diagram. So this is sort of like his kind of overall thesis, but we're going to watch this documentary about Bohemian Grove because just like Alex Jones, he came on the scene by doing a documentary about Bohemian Grove, but his documentary was in the 70s, I think. But this is his sort of like, this is how he describes the power elite. You've got these three overlapping circles, the social upper class at the top. So that represents like rich people who grew up rich. They go to rich schools. They marry each other. They go to the same parties. They're just rich people. They're celebrities. Some of them, many of them. They're in the news. It's a real who's who of socialites and jet setters. Yeah, it's like those types. It's like the Ghislaine Maxwells of the world are in this social upper class. In the bottom left corner here, you have the corporate community. Now, these are your CEOs, your business rich people who run giant businesses, billionaires. The bottom right-hand corner. So this is a really interesting one here. He's done a lot of work studying this concept. The Policy Planning Network, the PPN. So Domhoff refers to this as the true political party of the elite in the US, which is where he's talking about with this, but I think this applies elsewhere as well. But in the US, you have the Democrats and the Republicans as your political parties. But the Policy Planning Network, rather, is what he calls the actual true political party of the ultra-rich, that they will work with anyone. So these are like your NGOs, your organizations, your nonprofits, think tanks, policy review boards. These are groups of people with a bunch of experts and boards of trustees on them that talk to politicians and are like, hey, we've written a law for you to do. And politicians are like, oh, thank God. Okay, cool. That would have been a lot of work for me to do on my own, so I will take this. Cool, great. We've also read this big thing so you don't have to read it, and here you go. This is what you're going to do. And so these are the three groups, and you'll see where they intersect here. You've got the power elite, and there's a circle that sort of encompasses the center of all three. Now, obviously, not everyone who is a socialite or a jet setter, not everyone who's in the corporate community, not everyone who's in the PPN are the power elite, as we refer to them. But where they start to overlap, right? Like you've got CEOs, these people who own businesses, these billionaires, your Elon Musk types, and down the chain from him. And then you've also got the people who sit on these corporate boards, right? We were going over this the other day on this other website called, I think it's called Who Rules You or something? They Rule. Theyrule.net. If you go to this website, let's say, and this is only updated to 2021, unfortunately, but let's say, okay, let's go Walmart. Okay, who's on the board of directors for Walmart? All right, here we go. These are all the board of directors for Walmart. And now I can extend all these ones out more. Oh, this guy's also on the board of PepsiCo. This guy's on the board of JP Morgan Chase, United Health Group, MetLife, General Electric. So we start to build out these complicated webs with a lot of crossover. They're very incestuous. And we've got a lot of these boards of directors members are also on the boards of trustees. So they're relating to each other. They're talking to each other. They're making sure that their agenda is getting passed. And they all generally have the same overall agenda. Maybe they disagree on the specifics. Maybe they're conservative versus ultra-conservative. But they're all going to agree on crushing unions. They're all going to agree on lowering all barriers to international trade. They're going to agree on lowering taxes for the rich. They're going to agree on reducing the social safety net. They're going to agree on stuff like that. Everything else that the Democrats and Republicans kind of fight each other at, trans people shouldn't be able to poop near where I would want to do that. Like, that shit is, that is like a fake. Like, that's all like theater. I mean, obviously, trans people are real and valid, and they should be allowed to poop, I think, wherever they want. Or at least where a cis person's allowed to poop. But like, this is the true political representation. And your politicians, your elected representatives, they actually listen to a lot of what these guys say, rather than what you say, right? Rather than what the people who elected them say. So when we watch Domhoff's movie here, which we are about to do, Summer Camp for the Powerful, the Power Elite at Bohemian Grove, Domhoff's suggestion is that Bohemian Grove functions in the upper circle here, the social upper class. This is a thing, an activity that the elite do that helps them to be cohesive as a social class. And I forgot to mention, I managed to get my hands on a little copy here of The Bohemian Grove by Domhoff. Really hard to find. Sometimes it's on like Amazon, like a used copy will be on there for like $400. And I was randomly checking Amazon one day, and somebody was selling one for $11. I was like, God damn, let me get that shit. So I got it. So I got that shit. But yes. Oh, he also talks about Bohemian Grove on his website here, and he mentions. So you'll be like, well, this documentary's from 1972 or something like that. And here he's like, yeah, 1974 was when the book came out. He's written a new introduction in 2021, but he says somewhere absolutely nothing has changed about Bohemian Grove in all that time. It's still exactly the same. So, at least according to him, this documentary. Let's begin. Summer Camp for the Powerful, the Power Elite at Bohemian Grove.
The owl is in his leafy temple. Let all within the grove be reverent before him. For behold, here is Bohemia's shrine, and holy are the pillars of this house. Hi, I'm Bill Domhoff. I teach psychology and sociology at the University of California in the beautiful seaside city of Santa Cruz. What you're seeing is the Mighty Owl Shrine at a place called the Bohemian Grove, an encampment for the very rich, a playground for the powerful. And what you've just heard are the opening lines that are spoken by the high priest in an initiation ceremony that has started every encampment since 1880. What you're going to see in the rest of this video is the story of the power elite at its Bohemian Grove. I'm going to tell you something about the living quarters, the entertainment, the pranks, the nonsense, the political talks, and details on that opening ceremony. I'm also going to tell you something about the guests at the Bohemian Grove, including former presidents like Richard Nixon or George Bush or Ronald Reagan. Well, I am a professor, so I'll also be telling you something about the sociological significance of the Bohemian Grove.
Funny, eh? Like, I think he probably mentions this in here, but like Nixon, Bush, Reagan, all have been members at the Grove or spoke at the Grove. But the Grove, for politicians, they only accept Republicans. There's no Democrats allowed. Isn't that funny?
About its functions, about what its existence.
Yes, that's right. To Finland. Oh, why isn't it? Richard Nixon had some choice words about his visit. He did. There is a quote from him where he said the speech he gave at Bohemian Grove was the most important speech of his career. But there's also another quote, which we actually have the recording of, where he said something along the lines of, "That was some of the most gay shit I've ever seen," except for he didn't say gay. He said a slur which I won't say.
Indicates. But in telling you about the significance of this Bohemian Grove, I don't want to give you the impression that it's at the very heart of the American power elite. So towards the end of my comments, I'll be giving you that larger picture. The Bohemian Grove is only an instance, only one piece of what we call the power structure. Put another way, I'm going to use the story of the Bohemian Grove as a window into the power structure in the United States. The Bohemian Grove is owned and operated by a downtown...
So he's saying, like, you know, he's going to use the Bohemian Grove as a window into looking at the power structure of the U.S., something like that. But, looking for that diagram again. And I think that what's cool about the Bohemian Grove is it's a crazy fucking thing, and there's so many weird things about it, but it does involve at least a subcategory of the social upper class, the power elite. And so the way that you talk about it reveals a lot about how you think about these people. Like Alex Jones sees it, and he's like,
They're a bunch of evil Satanists. What they're doing is so unbelievably macabre and evil. You can hear the sacrificed child screams as they worship the Moloch.
Like, I think the whole thing with Moloch actually comes from Alex Jones. But now let's hear it from a sociologist who has devoted his life to studying power, the power elite.
Town men's club in San Francisco, called appropriately enough the Bohemian Club. That club was founded way back in 1872 by a group of young journalists, writers, and business people who wanted to get together a couple times each week to read poetry, read plays, and of course to have a lot of drinks. What you see behind me right now is the current clubhouse for the Bohemian Club. It's a 4-story building covered with ivy. If we go a little further into the clubhouse, we come to the bar room. The bar room at the Bohemian Club is called the cartoon room because the walls are decorated with large cartoon-like figures that were drawn by famous artists who visited the club.
Oh, there's so many fucking pictures there. Like, a conspiracy theorist could go nuts analyzing how each one of them represents sacrificing children to the devil. There's certain roads that people can go down with conspiracy theories. One of them is puns, where you get really into puns and like rhyming stuff, and you're like, well, they say this, but it actually means this. And you can even do like puns across different languages. And then there's another big part of it is just not understanding art. People will be like, oh my God, these cartoons, they mean something.
Down through the years. Now we see the cartoon room.
The problem with this topic is it gets deep into anti-Semitism. Oh, I mean, any conspiracy theory, unfortunately, will be shaded with anti-Semitism because so many fucking people just think the Jews run everything, and it just feeds into every conspiracy that they have. But I feel like Bohemian Grove in particular, it's even more tiresome than normal. The way that people would, because I have seen stuff about how, like, you know who's a member of Bohemian Grove? George Soros, the Rothschilds, blah blah blah. And it's just like, first of all, no, none of those people are part of the Bohemian Grove. Soros is like too liberal. This is a conservative thing. This is only for Republicans. So people say a lot of shit about Bohemian Grove without it being real at all. Anyway, yeah, no, it's an issue. You'll be watching Doc, and all of a sudden, boom, the hate shows up. Yeah, no, it's an issue. I've talked about this before. Conspiracy theorists have a lot of code words for the Jews. They go into neocons, Zionists, whatever, globalists. Yeah. Oh, extremely waspy. Extremely waspy. Like, I mean, Kissinger was there. I'm trying to think of Jewish people who were there. But yeah, not many. A lot of, like, if you look at, like, actual conspiracies that were done in the U.S., many of them were done by WASPs, because they actually have been the predominantly powerful group in America. I think nowadays we are seeing a Catholic comeback. We're seeing some Opus Dei shit. There's a lot of fucking Catholics getting into Supreme Court and shit. But the Protestants have always been, like, the most powerful religious, I guess, ethnic group. Anyway, let's continue.
With some very dignified-looking gentlemen standing inside it. And if we look right in the center of the picture, we see what's a window. It looks very white. If you look closely at that window, what you'll see is the emblem of an owl. So it's not just out in the Bohemian Grove that we find owls. Owls are, in fact, everywhere for Bohemians, because, lo and behold, owls are the totem animal of the Bohemian Club.
Yes, so owls, the owl symbol is very big in Bohemian Grove stuff. You'll often see, like, conspiracy theorists become obsessed with owls. Like, this became a big thing during QAnon, but it was a big even before that. But really took off during QAnon, where owls are a symbol of Moloch, child sacrifice, whatever. And anytime you see an owl, like Drake's symbol is an owl. So, like, obviously he's an evil pedophile. I mean, if the shoe fits, I guess. But yeah, owls are evil guys. And that's how I found out that all of the fucking hipster girls I dated in my 20s who had, like, owl necklaces, that was like a big popular thing, I don't know, back in the day. I guess they all must have been part of an elite Moloch cult.
We find them on the stationery. We find them on ashtrays. We find them on little pins that the men wear on their lapel. Well, if calling the owl the totem animal of Bohemian Grove sounds a little anthropological and tribal and prehistoric, it's meant to. Because, in fact, these men's clubs in America have much the same function as do male secret societies in pre-literate societies. And one of those functions is excluding women, making sure that women are kept out of power, and increasing male solidarity. So, women are not allowed to be members of the Bohemian Club.
That's another thing. It's only men. So it's very, like, patriarchal. Like, oh, they're very strict about this. I think they were sued on this a few times, and I think they now allow women to work at the Grove, but not to be members. And they can only work in the parking lot and one other place. But they're like, but this is, like, I mean, this is sort of a look at this sort of patriarchal nature of the elite, right? This cohesive group. Even the women in this social upper class are not often invited to the power elite. Like, in this case, they're actually, like, they're kept out of it. Yeah, it's interesting.
And they're not allowed to be guests at the Bohemian Grove. And if you can believe this, they're not even allowed to come in the front door of the downtown clubhouse on the rare occasions when they're allowed to be guests. Well, I'll be coming back to talk more about...
I think that's still true. Yeah, that is true, but I think that's different from the clubhouse. Or is that the only place where they have waitresses? I don't know. I've never actually been. Yeah. I believe they allow women only in two places: the parking lot and some kind of other place where they can serve. But yeah, they generally keep women far away, probably because of patriarchal whatever sexism. But also, you're going to see a lot of old guys pissing on trees. Women wouldn't be able to handle that.
About the sociological significance of the Bohemian Club in just a minute. But for now, let's go back out to the Bohemian Grove and see what's happening out there. The Bohemian Grove is located on the Russian River, 75 miles north of San Francisco. It covers 2,700 acres, but only a few hundred of those acres.
This guy's ahead of his time, eh? He's doing like a video essay, a green screen video essay. He's like, I don't know if he's looking off at like a mirror or something, trying to see, make sure he's pointing at the right spot on the map. What is that, a rear projection or is that a green screen? Must be, I don't know, 72? Must be a rear projection.
Of San Francisco. It covers 2,700 acres, but only a few hundred of those acres are actually used. The Bohemian Grove is actually divided into about 120 different camps. It's like you took the fraternity row at a big university and moved it up into the redwoods. Each of these camps has a little pet name like Aviary or Sons of Toil or Druids or Mandalay or Wolf. And each of these camps also has a special drink that it offers. It has special gags that it plays upon the visitors who come to see them. The men are constantly...
Now, whatever. Like, I feel like what's most offensive to me about this, like, aviary, bald eagle, okay, but then some of them are like hillbillies, jungle, I don't know, where it feels like they're kind of like making fun of poor people. Because like, all these people are billionaires. Not all of them, but these people are like the elite. And they're like, we're the hillbillies. Oh, come to hillbilly camp. We're making moonshine.
Moving around from camp to camp, talking to each other. The mythology is that all of these camps are equal, but the truth is that some of these camps are a lot more equal than others. The really big wheels are at Mandalay, where there's a former president or two, as well as former cabinet officers and many heads of major corporations. There's also a former president named Ronald Reagan at Owl's Nest, and there's a former president...
Well, you can tell Owl's Nest is like one of the big, most powerful ones.
At Hillbillies, a man named George Bush. Summer camp at the Bohemian...
Yeah, the Hillbillies are the Bushes. Think about that. One of the richest fucking families in American history.
Grove always takes place in the last 2 weeks in July when the weather is usually perfect. The encampment encompasses 3 weekends, and it's on the weekends that there's 1,500 to 2,000 men in the Grove. During the rest of the week, attendance can dip as low as 350 to 400. The encampment begins on a Friday night, but the big event of the first weekend is the Saturday night initiation ceremony featuring the high priest and the owl. So now I want you to kind of sit back and relax, get yourself in a mood to see how the power elite and their...
So in Jones' documentary, he goes over this too, the cremation of care, the ceremony that they do in front of the giant stone owl. This is like where Alex Jones's portrayal of it is the reason why people think that owl is Moloch. But the owl is not Moloch, by the way. That's just ignorant. If I look up Moloch, this is Moloch. This is Moloch from the Bible, Old Testament. Does that look like a fucking owl? No. This is arms out, sitting down. This is Moloch. Totally different, not the same, very not the same. Anyway, yeah, the Bushes are also from Texas. Like they're like, oh yeah, we're fucking hillbillies. Yeah, isn't hillbillies just child sacrifice god? But these guys' arms out, the statues, which the fucking owl, the Bohemian Grove owl, doesn't even have arms.
The Saturday night initiation ceremony featuring the high...
But this is like the climax of the Alex Jones documentary, and he's like,
This is crazy. What we've filmed has never before been seen.
Meanwhile, 1972, Domhoff made this, was a lot more chill about it.
Priest and the owl. So now I want you to kind of sit back and relax, get yourself in a mood to see how the power elite and their supporting cast do summer camp. I'm going to take you through that...
So the Bushes are from Appalachia? Interesting. Didn't know that.
Opening ceremony. It's called the cremation.
So he doesn't have a film of it, but he gets it exactly right. In 72, and then in 2000, whatever, Jones gets the footage. But just like, I don't know. Yeah, okay, I won't interrupt, but I'll just let him do it. I'll just let him describe it.
Do summer camp. I'm going to take you through that opening ceremony. It's called the cremation of care, with care meaning the burdens and responsibilities that important men supposedly must carry. It takes a cast of over 250 elders, priests, torchbearers, fire tenders, and woodland voices to conduct the ceremony. So I want you to picture yourself comfortably seated in a beautiful outdoor dining hall. It's early evening, you've finished a sumptuous dinner, and you are sitting quietly with your drink. Out of the shadows on the nearby hillside, you see a line of men dressed in orange-red robes, wearing tall, pointed hats. Funeral music begins to play. You notice
KKK is there?
a few of the men are carrying an open coffin, and it contains a body. It's really an effigy, of course. It is Mr. Dullcare himself, who stands, as I said, for worries and concerns. And he's about to be sacrificed on a big bonfire. Well, as the funeral procession moves...
So they actually do like a sort of like sacrifice. It's not really a person, but it's like it's supposed to be like a coffin that represents care. It's like the cremation of care. It's like caring about the outside world. It's like, well, you're here, you're carefree because we've ritually sacrificed them to Moloch. We've ritually sacrificed our worries. Ha ha, Hakuna Matata.
Just past the dining area, the rest of the men follow it down to the owl shrine by the lake and seat themselves to watch the cremation. First, a tree spirit comes out of a big redwood and sings about the beauty of the setting. And then the priest and his helpers come forward, and the priest speaks his flowery words for a few minutes. And then the body of Dolcair is put on the bonfire. The high priest criticizes Dolcair, calls him the archenemy of beauty, and he shouts, "Bring fire!" But suddenly there's a great clap of thunder and a rush of wind. Peals of loud, ugly laughter come ringing down from a hill above the lake. A dead tree is illuminated in the middle of the hillside, and Cair himself bellows forth with a thundering blast. He says, "Fools, fools, when will you learn that you cannot slay me?" And the high priest is very taken aback by this impressive outburst. And then Dolcair tells the high priest in no uncertain terms that priestly fires are not going to do him in. "I spit upon your fire," he roars. And with that, there's a great explosion, and all the torches are immediately extinguished. And the only remaining light comes from the lamp of fellowship at the base of the owl. So the priest turns to the owl. He falls to his knees, and he lifts up his arms towards the shrine, and he asks, "O great symbol of mortal wisdom, owl of Bohemia, grant us thy counsel." And the owl's head begins to glow, and the owl actually speaks. And he says that Dolcair is right. Fire can't kill Dolcair, at least not an ordinary fire. The only thing that can get rid of Dolcair is the fire from the lamp of fellowship, closeness. And of course the priest thinks, why didn't I think of that? And he runs over to the lamp of fellowship, he relights the torch, and he torches the bonfire. And an orchestra starts to play very inspirational music. Dolcair starts to wail and scream because, of course, he's on his way out. And the chorus begins to sing, and there's fireworks that go off. And then out comes a big brass band, and they're playing "There'll Be a Hot Time in the Old Town Tonight." And the guys get up, and they begin to cheer and jump around. They whoop, and they haul.
You guys know this? Is that a song that people know? There'll be a hot time in the old town tonight.
They have been freed by their priest to enjoy their encampment. It's like they're back in college, and there's a big fraternity bonfire.
So that was just something that this university professor in the 70s was able to put together through like research, talking to people who went there, reading about it, going back to older texts, using his academic connections. He worked with another guy while he was writing this book on Bohemian Grove. He worked with another guy who was writing a book at the same time on Bohemian Grove and was able to put together that description of the cremation of Cair. Alex Jones in 2000 with John Ronson, his unwilling collaborator, he actually sneaks into the Bohemian Grove and he films it. And so as you can see, like this is a 2-hour documentary. They show this part right at the very end. But I find it kind of cool. I mean, it's definitely like really fucking cool footage. But fucking Domhoff got it like exactly right. And he just describes everything. In fact, if they listened to Domhoff before they did this, they might have known better where to point the camera, because I think they missed some shit where people come out of the trees and stuff. Oh, great owl of Bohemia.
We thank thee for thy adjuration.
It's actually kind of lame to see it. Like, it sounded cooler when it was being described. You can sort of see, I'm just going to zoom in here. Those are the people in front of the fucking owl torch. They've got like a fucking orchestra. How much money do you think this ceremony costs? Probably like millions of dollars. Be gone. So Cair, the dull Cair, is the name of the effigy that they're burning, because like it's all just about like, we're not gonna worry.
Once more,
And now we don't care.
be gone, Dolcair.
We don't give a F.
Fire, will of thee.
Fire.
Be gone, Dolcair.
Be gone.
And all the winds make merry with thy ducks. Fill fellowship's eternal flame. Once again, midsummer sets us free.
Okay, one guy there is drunk enough for this. Like, this is like some cool shit you do at summer camp, right? Like, if you went to a summer camp where you had enough money to do something like this. This is like long as fuck. I don't want to watch the entire thing. This is what I'm talking about. But fire alone is not enough to kill the beast. You must the fire of fellowship, right? Fire of fellowship, because we are the ruling class and we need to be a cohesive body. It's kind of boring to watch it without Where's this friggin' sacrifice? Somewhere around here.
The picture was almost out of the screen, so that's the edge of the field or the view of the camera.
What is? Huh? Hang on.
Search of the ritual you've just witnessed.
Okay, hang on.
Now we're going to get to some enhanced video, and we'll go play by play through some of the more occultic statements, like we shall read the sign in your burned effigy, the bound body. That's exactly what the Druids actually did. They would roast cats, goats, oxen, horses, and watch the pain of how they died, and from this extract some type of mystical energy force or power, and also be able to tell the future.
Crazy how calm Alex Jones sounded back then. It's kind of like listening to audio of RFK Jr. back before his voice was totally fucked. But it was still sort of getting there. And you can hear Alex Jones. It's not quite.
It's the fucking, they're doing the globalists. Blah, blah, blah.
But he's almost there. He's like halfway step between a normal guy's voice and like, oh, but he's like, you gotta know. Yes, and he's not quite there. He's a little bit less gravelly, but you can hear the gravel starting to trickle down.
Bohemia, we beseech thee, grant us thy counsel.
Upon further research of the ritual you've just witnessed.
So, okay, we heard Domhoff being like, okay, this is like about brotherhood and blah, blah, blah. And we can't banish the dull care with regular fire. We need the fire of fellowship. We need this, blah, blah, blah. But Alex Jones did his own research here, which he should always do. And here's what he came up with.
It becomes clear. It is a mixture of the Babylonian Canaanite cult of Moloch fused with ancient Druidic rites, where you have the female side of Satan, which they first call out to in the she, and then towards the horn god with the he, mixed with Masonic rites from Scotland. It's very likely that many of the 1,500 to 2,000 member crowd had really no idea what they were actually watching because it was thinly veiled. Here we have some more enhanced video as the boatman, again with his face painted up like a skull, pulls his boat across the small...
Like, it's kind of lame, honestly. Like, it's not that cool, but like they want it to be cool. Like, I'm sure a lot of these guys got a kick out of watching Alex Jones's documentary about their evil deeds. It's like these guys do evil deeds. Like, these are the power elite, but it's just, this is not one of those things, you know? Anyway, I just thought I find it's interesting to watch. Here's the part where they go into the sacrifice, and Alex Jones is getting a little bit intense about it.
Throwing bodies into fiery pits after ritually cutting their hearts out or slitting their throats.
Oh, okay.
They talk about reading the sign in the burning effigy, reading the sign. Again, research your history books on the occult, even the Encyclopedia Britannica on what the Druids would engage in.
The limits of Alex Jones's research ability.
This is just unbelievably macabre and evil.
I always remember that line.
This is unbelievably macabre and evil.
I've watched quite a bit of Alex Jones, not as much as some people, but I think that one of his main ideas about the elite, like I was saying, right, how people talk about the Bohemian Grove generally tells you what they think about the elite class in general and how they think the elite class functions. And Domhoff has a very, I would say, sophisticated and like smart academic understanding of the power elite, whereas Jones, if you watch a lot of his stuff, a lot of his beliefs about the world involve satanic, pagan rituals done by those who rule over us. Like everyone, like all the politicians he doesn't like are actually they worship Satan. They sacrifice children to eldritch gods. Like that. It's an almost childlike understanding of the world, but it goes to some very dark places. It's why Alex Jones was so enthusiastic about Pizzagate, is that with the Marina Abramovich stuff, it absolutely fed into his ideas. Same with the way he interpreted Bohemian Grove and the cremation of care. This is his understanding of the elite. So of course, when he looks at Bohemian Grove, he will see this shit. You know, I feel like it's understandable from that perspective, but it's also frustrating because Alex Jones's perspective, it was the one that really took off. At least with people who know what Bohemian Grove is, I think a lot more of them are familiar with Alex Jones than would be familiar with Domhoff. But anyway, it's just interesting to see both the perspectives on the cremation. Let's continue on.
Excluding women. It's about excluding everybody else. It's an invitation into an in-group. It's initiation into a very exalted kind of status. The fact that the ceremony is so spectacular tells these men that they are very special in the world. The fact that it's been done the same way since 1929, when the statue was first built, tells them the world is timeless, that tradition has made it so their place in life is very, very secure. The cremation of care is only the beginning of the entertainment at the Bohemian Grove. There's going to be concerts, there's going to be other plays, there's going to be trap shooting, there's going to be swimming, there's going to be nature walks, and a whole lot more. The second most extravagant performance at the
Summer camp. It literally is a summer camp for the powerful.
Grove is what's called the hijinks. It's a very eloquent kind of play that tells us about the timelessness of
this part sounds so lame. Just wait.
things, and once again, and about tradition. There's also a play that's...
So yeah, I don't who built the statue? I'm not sure if Domhoff gets into this here, but the Bohemian Club's origins was like they were originally like a bunch of poor artists, bohemians, and they started this club, and then at one point one of the members like moved to New York or something, and they had a going away party for him in the woods, and then that eventually like they were like, let's do this every year, let's do this big party in the woods every year. And so they started doing that, and then rich people started getting invited, and rich people were like, oh my god, this is so fucking cool, you guys, and there's like a cool owl, oh, we got to get more people involved. And then they started bringing more rich people in, and then the artists were kind of like, this is getting weird. And eventually now it's basically all rich people, and they can afford to buy like a giant stone owl, whereas before they probably had, I don't know, they probably had like an actually cool version of that like ceremony. But yeah, it's they literally, they put on plays, they let their inner theater kid out. It literally is that. Yeah. Like that's what it is. It's just funny. Like, so in order to be in the Bohemian Grove, you either have to be like a rich Republican, or they do bring in artists. They do bring in like poor, maybe probably not like poor, but like not incredibly wealthy artists and like playwrights and whatever, acting coaches, actors, musicians. You can get hired in, kind of like the guy that plays piano in Eyes Wide Shut, right? Like they do have to hire these people because they don't know how to do any of this shit. So they have to hire professionals in order to put on these hijinks and low jinks and these plays and activities that they do. I mean, yeah. So those are the ways you can become a member of the Bohemian Club. I think it was more along the lines of rich networking for business and future endeavors. Yes, it's definitely a big part of it is networking, as Domhoff would say, class cohesion. But there is a rule that you're not supposed to talk about work. You actually aren't supposed to discuss business while you're there. That's why they have the cremation of care, the cares of the world. It's supposed to be, we're just having fun. Don't talk about work. Plus everyone's hammered drunk the whole time. But they do, like, I'm sure you'd go there and you'd be like hanging out with some other CEO or politician or something, and you'd have a fucking awesome time together. And then after the Bohemian Grove, you're like, yo, I should call that guy up and maybe we can actually do business together. So there is a meshing of Domhoff's two like circles here between the social upper class, which is what Bohemian Grove really is, and then the overlap with the executives and probably not so much the policy planning network, but like with the social upper class and the corporate community, we're getting into like this kind of a circle here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but yeah, this is kind of how it works, right? Let's continue.
Put on that's called the Low Jinks. It's a musical comedy. That play spoofs some aspect of society or spoofs the elite themselves. Sometimes those plays get to be a little bit.
Who are all these people? I do not recognize anybody, but I guess these are all like members of the Bohemian Club. So probably some of these guys are powerful.
Raunchy. Since they exclude women from the Grove, men of themselves have to play these parts.
So, of course, because there's no women, so there's a lot of drag. And, of course, this gets picked up on by some of the, I would say, the more bigoted of the conspiracy movement. Not everybody who gets into conspiracies is transphobic, but I feel like probably a lot, though. But, yeah, no, this is just what you got to do if you're going to have a play where at a place you don't invite women at.
Parts as women. The men.
Yeah. This documentary's from, actually it says it's from 1994. Oh, okay. But so it's from 1994. His book is from 1974. But yeah, these photos do look old.
You get quite a kick out of talking about who's going to play these various women's parts. And it's precisely in these parts, because they're kind of walk-on parts, that they're most likely to use the most prestigious men in the Bohemian Grove. Now, you might say to yourself, how do busy and important men of the kind I claim go to the Grove, how do they have time to practice for such a play? And the answer is that they don't. They aren't playing the major roles. This is one of the things that makes the Bohemian Club so unique. It has a whole set of people called associate members.
Associate members, that's who I was mentioning earlier.
Who are really performing members. These are artists and writers and singers and even a few professors. And they get into the club for reduced dues, and then they are the ones that play the major role in putting on this huge amount of entertainment at the Bohemian Grove. Now, this turns out to be a great deal for both the rich and the powerful and for these artistic members. On the one side, the artistic members get to be members of a club that's far more elegant and higher status than they could ever belong to on their own. You get to take their friends there and to enjoy things. But they also make contacts there. One person I interviewed said to me that he made many contacts for his band to play at weddings and other kinds of ceremonies for wealthy people. Some of the artists sell their work to the wealthy Bohemians at the Bohemian Grove. On the other side of the equation, the rich Bohemians
that makes sense.
Have the possibility of saying, hey, I know a lot of artists. I'm hip to what's going on in the world today. Well, once again, we stop our story to ask, what's going on here? Now, if we ask the men, they'll say they're just out for a little R&R. But if we scratch the surface, we'll find them saying, hey, it's a great place to meet new people. It's a great place to renew acquaintances. Great place to bring your son to meet the gang. It's also
definitely something the Bushes did. H.W. Bush, as well as I want to say even H.W.'s was it Prescott Bush, something like that, who actually was involved in a conspiracy to help the Nazis that a bunch of billionaires were in the U.S. were involved in during World War II. This is something that a lot of people who it's not just that former presidents go there, future presidents go here. People who want to become the Republican nominee, they go there. Clinton specifically never has gone to Bohemian Grove. He's a Democrat. They don't allow Democrats there. There's a funny clip actually of someone asking Bill Clinton about Bohemian Grove, and he's like, "What? Bohemian Grove?" Sorry, that's not a good impression.
What do you want me to talk about?
Yeah.
9/11. Blah, 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 so.
Fraud? No, it wasn't a fraud, but I'll be glad to talk to you if you.
I like the caption here. Bill Clinton gets asked about the Bohemian Grove Club that he and other elites attend. Bill Clinton, you're okay, conspiracy guys. You're right about the Epstein stuff with Bill Clinton, at least some of it. Bohemian Grove, they don't allow Democrats.
Let me tell you something. I'll tell you a couple of stories about fraud.
There you go. Bohemian Grove. Talk about Bohemian Grove.
The Bohemian Club, as you say, the Bohemian Club? That's where all those rich Republicans go up and stand naked against redwood trees, right?
Well, yeah. You got to know what conspiracies the guy's involved in. Okay? He's not involved in the Bohemian Club. He was not involved in 9/11. That was after him. Ask him about Epstein.
I've never been to the Bohemian Club, but you ought to go. It'd be good for you. Get some fresh air.
Famous Clinton wit. No, I respect the guy standing up and asking him questions, though, because that guy deserves to sweat a little bit. But it's just tell us about Epstein, though. Just kind of a funny response, though. You mean that place Republicans stand butt naked against the redwood trees? Something like that. But yeah.
great place to bring a rising executive or indeed a political protege. In other words, what's developing here is social cohesion. These men are becoming tight with each other. And I think social cohesion matters a great deal, because otherwise they're just a collection of rich individuals. They don't have the ability to coordinate and have influence on government. Now, we're going to come back to that point a little later when we talk about the power structure as a whole. But here I just want to say to you that there is a lot of research that's been done on cohesion in small groups. And that research tells us that there are 4 key points in a group developing tight social cohesion. I want you to notice how well each of these points fits.
And this is almost like an entire class building cohesion, right? Like the elite class. It's like, what do we have in common? We are both billionaire, whatever, titans of industry, old money, new money, but we have the same mutual interests. And now we are friends because we've both pissed at the same tree in Bohemian Grove.
Develop social cohesion. And there's plenty of physical proximity at the Bohemian Grove. Secondly, the more people interact, the more they develop social cohesion. And that's all that these people are doing at the Bohemian Grove, is interacting, drinking and interacting, I should say. Thirdly, groups that are seen as very high in status are groups that develop a tight social cohesion. And of course that fits the Bohemian Grove perfectly. You don't ask to join, they ask you. The whole thing is about excluding certain people, and other people get to go to this fancy retreat. Fourth, social cohesion develops best in an atmosphere of relaxation and cooperation. And once again, that fits the Bohemian Club to a T. So if we're going to draw a little sociological lesson here, we say social cohesion is developing at the Bohemian Grove. Well, so far we've got it. There's entertainment at the Grove, and there's social cohesion at the Grove. Is there anything else? After all, these people are businessmen. 25 to 35% of the people who are there are directors and managers of major corporations, and lots of the other people.
25% of the people at Bohemian Grove are managers and executives of the big corporations. So, again, we're looking at the executives, the CEOs, the corporate community angle of the power elite here, mingling. And actually, at that point, if you're in the corporate community and you go to Bohemian Grove, you're effectively part of now the social upper class. You're a socialite or a jet setter, so you're already at least in this part of the circle here. Let's continue.
Are in smaller businesses as well. So don't they talk business while they're there at the Bohemian Grove? Aren't they cutting deals? Well, yeah, sort of. But what we have to remember is they've had a lot to drink, and they couldn't remember the details of a deal if they had to. What's going on is something else. A very wealthy man who had read my book on the Bohemian Grove once said to me, you know, I was at that Bohemian Grove as a guest a couple years ago, and he said, I want you to know I didn't talk business once while I was up there. And he paused, and he says to me, but I did make some great appointments for later that led to some wonderful deals. And then, of course, he had a big laugh. Now, probably isn't much business then going.
But that's exactly the fucking thesis of Domhoff's work, you fool. That's what he was saying.
Going on up there. But they do write this trip off as a business expense.
Honestly, like, if I got invited, man, like, I mean, fuck all those people, but, like, I would go. If they're like, come here, we want someone to make, like, a overly long video essay. We'll do we'll give you a reduction on dues. I'd be like, okay. All right, Mr. George Bush, sir, I'll do it.
Purloined from a wonderful student from a file where a corporate lawyer details for his firm all the people he's had as guests at the Grove in the last few years, and why he therefore should be able to continue to deduct 1/3 of his expenses when he goes to the Bohemian Grove from his taxes, or be paid back by the firm as a business expense. In other words, we don't call these people a corporate rich for nothing. These people live off the corporation as much as they live off of their own salaries. Well, if there's not much business going on up there, there is a lot of politicking going on. And that politicking takes place primarily around what are called the lakeside talks, where the speaker stands on a podium that looks with his back to the lake, looking out towards the men that are sitting on the bank. And each afternoon, there's one of these talks. During the week, the talk might be by an artist, it might be by a professor, it might be by a business person. The talks vary a great deal in their substance. One year, they had an astronaut speak, for example, and telling how it was to be way up there. But on Friday...
Obviously, rich people fucking love space. Everybody wants to go to space.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the talks get heavier. They're more likely, much more likely, to be about politics. And they'll involve some of the most important people in the world giving the talk. The Prime Minister.
And Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are... because a lot of people don't stay during the week. A lot of people, whatever, they go back to their families. The weekends are when, like, the population at Bohemian Grove goes up to the max. So it's interesting then that the Friday, Saturdays, and Sunday nights is when they do the talks about politics. Because this group, again, I'm going to show the fucking diagram over here. This group also intersects with the Policy Planning Network. They are all very interested in politics.
Minister of Germany, Prime Minister of France, former President of Mexico in 1992 spoke on the importance of passing NAFTA. There's also presidents and former presidents and future presidents that have spoken at the Bohemian Grove. And the first example I want to give you involves General Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1950. And this example is told to us by Richard Nixon, who was to be Ike's vice president just 2 years later, in his autobiography. And the story goes as follows. Later that day, Eisenhower spoke at the beautiful Lakeside Amphitheater. It was not a polished speech, says Nixon, but he delivered it without notes, and he had the good sense not to speak too long. The only line that drew significant applause was his comment that he did not see why anyone who refused to sign a loyalty oath should have the right to teach in a state university. After his speech, we went back to caveman camp and sat around the campfire appraising it. And of course, right there, you see one of the functions of the Bohemian Grove. Well, it was a lakeside talk in 1967 that was enormously important to Nixon himself in his bid for the presidency.
Yeah. We'll look at his Nixon's other quotes, but this is his positive quote about it.
He says his speech at the Grove was the start of his comeback, and once again, I'm quoting Nixon. If I were to choose the speech that gave me the most pleasure and satisfaction in my political life, wrote Nixon, it would be my lakeside speech at the Bohemian Grove. Because this speech traditionally was off the record, it received no publicity at the time. But in many ways, it marked the first milestone on my road to the presidency. It gave me an unparalleled opportunity to reach some of the most important and influential men, not just from California, but from across the country.
Oh, look at this. Oh, it's the Owl's Nest. Remember, that's where Reagan's at? So who we got here? That's Reagan. There's Nixon. So here's the quote from Nixon that he's not reading. The Bohemian Grove, which I attend from time to time, it is the most F-slurry goddamn thing you could ever imagine with that San Francisco crowd. So he didn't it's the most important thing of his life, but he does not care for their, cremation of dull care.
Ex-presidents, like the speech that Ronald Reagan gave in 1989, those speeches are more likely to have a lighter touch. For example, Reagan began with a kind of a joke. He said that there are three things that he's learned about growing older. He said the first was that you tend to forget. Then he paused, and then he said, I can't remember the other two. And of course, everyone laughed. The whole speech was about on that particular level. But the next speech that I want to mention in 1993 was anything but light. It was by a former Secretary of Treasury, and it was an all-out attack on George Bush, contrasting his terrible presidency with the wonderful presidency of Ronald Reagan. And George Bush had to sit there and listen to the whole talk. The next day, Bush's former Secretary of State, James Baker, defended Bush, but he spent most of his time attacking the Clinton administration, as did most of the other speakers that year. Well, for the whole 20th century, from Teddy Roosevelt on, every Republican president has been either a member or a guest at the Bohemian Grove. So it's a place of significant politics. But there's been no Democratic president.
Wait. Let me hear that again. Say that again, Domhoff.
That year. Well, for the whole 20th century, from Teddy Roosevelt on,
for the whole 20th century,
every Republican president has been either a member or a guest at the Bohemian Grove.
Every Republican president has been either a member or a guest at the Bohemian Grove. I think that remained true in the 21st century, except for Trump. I don't think Trump was a member of the Bohemian Grove.
So it's a place of significant politics. But there's been no Democratic president who's been a member or a guest at the Bohemian Grove. There are a few Bohemians who have served in the cabinets of Democratic presidents, and there have been a few members of Democratic administrations that have gone to the Grove to give lakeside talks. But by and large, the members are Republicans. Of those who give money to campaigns, 95% of them give to Republicans, and on average, they give twice as much as the Democratic members give. Oh my goodness, does that mean the Democrats really are the party of liberals and minorities and low-income people?
Now he's having fun with it. Now he's doing some video editing stuff. What am I looking at here? Welcome to the Bohemian Grove. No girls allowed. Reagan Eisenhower. Is that supposed to be Nixon? He's put himself on the Mount Rushmore. Cool. That
they really are the party of the common person? Nope. Sorry.
No, you moron. See, this is what I like Domhoff. He's like, he's good. He basically is like both parties suck, but as you may have noticed from the cover of my other Domhoff book, Who Rules America, he says the corporate rich, white nationalist Republicans, and inclusionary Democrats. So this is much more recent, right? This was updated in 2021, I think it was. And he's like, yeah, The Republican Party is, both parties are conservative. The Republican Party is now much more white nationalist than it's ever been before. And the Democrats are inclusionary, as in that they allow black people and women and blah, blah, et cetera, to be members, but they only will let in the black people who believe all the same things as the whatever corporate elites want them to believe. It's I don't know. It's an interesting analysis, I think. But no, I just like how he does like the dumb guy voice. He does like the Jim Gaffigan, like, I don't know why he's talking so much about hot pockets. He's like, oh wow, so does that mean that Democrats are the good ones? Nope, they're bad too.
Oh my goodness, does that mean the Democrats really are the party of liberals and minorities and low-income people? That they really are the party of the common person? Nope, sorry, at least not yet. They're the party of the fringe groups within the power elite. Historically, that means
the fringe groups within the power elite.
Plantation elites in the South, and today, of course, that means big business people and agribusiness people in the South. From states like Georgia, where Jimmy Carter is from, or Arkansas, where Bill Clinton is from, or Texas, where Lyndon Johnson was from.
Yeah, I mean, are there any Democratic congresspeople? Wonder for Larry Summers. I mean, I don't know. I think he said that sometimes Democrats will have members of the Bohemian Grove on their cabinets. I wonder if there's like a list of known members. Members. Let's just scroll down here quick, see if we see anybody we know. Charles Bunchu, George H.W. Bush, Norton Bush, Giuseppe Cazcarnaso, Newt Gingrich. Cool. So I feel like this wouldn't even be a fun group of people to hang out with. This is like the world's largest Nightmare Blunt rotation. Schwarzenegger. George Sterling has a Gen Z haircut. Is that a Gen Z haircut? He looks like Spock. This is what the kids look like these days? All right. Wait, Tennessee Ernie Ford is on that list? Seriously? Are you serious? What? Oh my God.
You load 16 tons. What do you get? An invitation to the Bohemian Grove set.
That don't make sense. That ain't make no sense. This guy's supposed to be cool. All right, well, I don't know. I don't know anything about his life. I just know that I like his version of 16 tons.
Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can go all my soul to the Moloch statue.
When a lot of conspiracy theorists talk about it, they'll be like, it's the Rothschilds and the fucking, like, just to name a bunch of Jewish people, and you're like, none of those guys are in it. None of them are, All right, let's keep going.
But the party's also supported by the non-Protestant rich in the North, the kinds of people that are excluded by the waspy people that go to the Bohemian Grove.
Okay, so the Grove is like even more waspy than the power elite as general is.
Well, that just about ends our saga of the Bohemian Grove, but I don't want to conclude without giving you that larger picture that I talked about a little bit earlier. I don't want to leave you with the impression that the Bohemian Grove is at the heart of the power elite.
I love the creative choice to put himself in this. I love this.
Instead, I want to say to you that we can use our study of the Bohemian Grove to reach out to study other social clubs, because
going on for a really long time.
These men, these Bohemians, on average, are in 3 or 4 other social clubs. So it's very easy for us then to figure out the nationwide social networks of big business clubs. But we don't stop just there. We also add policy planning groups, organizations where business people join with experts to discuss the issues of the day and to plan what they want to do in reaction to those issues. These are organizations like the Committee for Economic Development and the Conference Board and the Business Council and the Business Roundtable.
So these are groups that he's naming here. He talks a lot about these in his book, Who Rules America. These would be the boards of directors and the boards of trustees in the corporate community and policy planning network. Like the Business Roundtable is an incredibly powerful group that has, if you look at all the people on that whatever trustee board, and you look at what other boards they sit on, and you look at all that, like that is much more relevant to how people are always say like, oh, the people, this is where they plan they're going to control the world. No. Bohemian Grove is not where they plan how they control the world. That's ridiculous. Don't be conspiratorial. The Business Roundtable, though, that is where that stuff happens. This is just about class cohesion. The Bohemian Grove is about like really high upper class, waspy, patriarchal, male social cohesion. You're thinking of the policy planning network. You're thinking of the other circle, and it's over. And certainly, yeah, it overlaps with social upper class, but not necessarily at Bohemian Grove.
And the Council on Foreign Relations. And what we do is we take all of the interlocking members, we call them interlocking overlappers for short, and we put them into our computer, and we mush them all around with very sophisticated statistical techniques that...
This is the coolest thing that Domhoff does. I wish he kept this updated.
I really don't quite understand myself. And when we're done, we have what's called a centrality score. That is that the more that a group is in the center of the power structure, the higher its score is. The more its score approaches 100, the more central it is.
So are you catching this? Sorry, maybe I talked over this a little bit, but he's saying like his field of study, his power network relationsology, whatever it is, sociology and power structure. I don't know, something like that. So what he does is, remember from this thing where we were looking at all these boards of directors on different corporate boards? Like just from this one guy, Paul Garcia, he's at United Health, he's connected to MetLife, General Electric, Walmart, JP Morgan Chase, PepsiCo, like there's all this thing. But what you can do is, once you have all of these names, you can figure out, well, how many overlaps are there between all these different things? And you can realize, damn, like let's say General Electric has like the most connections out of anyone. Well, then that means it gets a high score. It gets like 100 score on like the Domhoff meter. This is called theyrule.net. And yeah, you can move around. I guess you can even move the different nodes on it. But you can be like, well, who else? What about you? What about you? What about you? You can do your own kind of exploring. But like what Domhoff does is he actually gets the score here. See on his website, the Power Elite database. Search the Power Elite data. It's old, from 2010 to 2011. That's the most up-to-date version they have. The Fortune 500, and so that's everyone on all of the top 500 companies in the US and all of their boards of directors, as well as the top 93 nonprofits. So that's the bottom right, the Policy Planning Network. Enter a name. Let's say Microsoft. There we go. So we've got the board of directors here, the CEO, category, and then we've got, here's Gates. Oh, it's got all the organizations he's a part of. And then over here, you have their rank, right? And the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is apparently the number one ranked out of the top 93 nonprofits, I suppose. And that makes sense because they actually have done a lot of fucking shit to change shit. They did a lot of shit for charter schools. They've done a lot of shit for how aid gets distributed to Africa. During COVID, Bill Gates demanded that there be IP laws put on shit. Yeah, so their rank is just connectivity. Like it only can measure the connectivity that's available in this data set. Obviously, that isn't like the total connectivity, whatever. You could be connected in a lot of ways that wouldn't show up on these data sets. But I think it is very interesting. Look at all these people. Like all of these people here. Warren Buffett is on the board here. And Berkshire Hathaway is the number 11 most connected corporation. Would it be possible to use like wiki data and like the fucking, what's it called? Sparkle? Crackle stuff? The like that coding thing that automatically gets all the data and can create charts for you and shit. Would there be a way to combine all of that shit with all of this shit? And basically what I'm trying to find out, is there a way we can use all that data to make an updated version of this list? Or even better than that, like a list that just automatically stays updated because of the wiki data? Because like, it's so lame that this is from 2011. Like, I want to know what it's like right now. I just know from reading this book, Who Rules America, where there's a couple points where he lists out the top 20 most connected social clubs. And Bohemian Grove isn't even like in the top 5. The number one most connected social club in America, at least as recently as 2021. Does anyone want to guess it? The number one social club in America for as far as connectivity with the Power Elite is the Links. This is a golf course. This is an exclusive golf course. Bohemian Club is number 11 social club. The centrality score is 6.62, which is pretty good. Like that's a pretty good score. but the Links Club. And apparently he says there's a very good article. Domhoff recommends that this is an article about the Links Club, the world's most exclusive golf club. And it's this guy, I've just returned from one of the most elite golf clubs in the world. I've been trying for years to visit this club and finally succeeded through the generosity of my favorite wasp. You won't find the Links. The club is called the Links, not the Links Club. Okay, it's not called the Links Club. It's just called the Links. Don't fuck it. That's how you'll never get an invite if you start saying the Links Club. Yeah. Council on Foreign Relations is definitely up there. Number 6. Number 6 on this list, and that's a policy planning group. 0.68. So again, you look at the people on the board, and you look at how many boards they sit on. And you eventually come up with there's some math involved, and you get a score at the end of the day. I find this shit so cool. Like, I just like how Domhoff is he's different from a lot of more conspiratorial guys who talk about shit like this. Like Alex Jones is just like,
you just gotta trust me. They're sacrificing evil devils or whatever. They're evil demons. They're trying to fucking kill people,
whatever. Whereas Domhoff is like, yeah, no, there is a social class that rules the world, not on an individual level, but as a group, they ensure that their interests are the ones that are carried out, and they make sure that any politician that becomes in power does their things that they want them to do. That's what they do that. But at the same time, it's all very out in the open. Like, I think he says that, like, that's something I heard him say in a lot of interviews. He's like, oh yeah, I know. It's not like hidden. Like, you can look up, like, you can find out all this information very easily. And he just sort of shows it to you. He's like, yeah, look, like, and these are the types of proposals that the PPN, the Policy Planning Network, puts forward. And look at the laws that get passed. Like, it's actually really out in the open. Like, a lot of laws come directly from them. You know, like, people got so furious about Project 2025. And I mean, to be fair, that it was a horrifying list of policies designed by, like, theocratic fascists at the fucking Opus Dei church. Really, really horrible, disgusting shit. But that is kind of how laws work in general, is they just get passed off to some lazy politician from a organization or a think tank or some kind of group like that. Foundation. It's nuts. Anyway, sorry. All right, let's watch the end of this.
That a group is in the center of the power structure, the higher its score is. The more its score approaches 100, the more central it is. And when we do that study, we find that the Bohemian Club is low, only number 11 in our power structure, as you're now going to see on the screen. 3 other clubs were...
Funny that I just looked that up. Didn't need to do that. I could have just waited 3 seconds.
...more central. The Links Club of New York at number 3, the Pacific Union Club of San Francisco at number 7, and the Chicago Club of Chicago at number 8. But notice what's right up there at the top. Policy discussion groups like the Business Council with a score of 95, and the Committee for Economic Development at 91. Far more central than any other club or group. That's the heart of the American power.
95 is crazy. 95. The Business Council. Like, that's one. Conspiracy theorists know about a lot of these. Obviously, the Bohemian Club. They know about the Century Club. They know about the Council on Foreign Relations. They know about the Committee for Economic Development. They know about that. But I don't often hear them talk about the Business Council, and that's the number one. It's number one.
Our elite. And those organizations, in turn, tie to hundreds of major corporations. And it's right here that we can reinforce another role that's played by a place like the Bohemian Grove, with another finding from small group research on social psychology. Because that research shows that socially cohesive groups are the ones in which members are more likely to pay attention to the opinions of other members and more likely to change their opinions to those of the rest of the group. In other words, my key point is that social cohesion is one of the things that makes policy cohesion possible.
Social cohesion is one of the things that makes policy cohesion possible, right? If the elite social upper class didn't feel united in this way, they wouldn't be able to have this network of people sitting on boards of directors and trustees in both the corporate and the policy planning sectors here. This part at the top is like the glue. Like, this is an essential element, and that is a part of what the Bohemian Club offers.
To say that these people are all business people. They're in different businesses. They live in different parts of the country. They may not trust each other. Social cohesion is one of the things that makes it possible for them to talk about policies in these organizations like the Committee for Economic Development and the Council on Foreign Relations. And that's the emphasis that I want to have for the Bohemian Grove. But hey, if we're going to get down and academic about all this, I can't leave out our really big and complex and juicy quantitative study of our whole corporate network. What if we put
a little bit of anticlimactic sentence there? I can't leave out our big and dramatic and juicy study, a quantitative accounting. It's just like, oh, okay. I thought you had like a fucking crazy photo of Reagan in a dress or something.
What if we put in all the corporations, 10 or 12 major universities, 20 major law firms, civic associations, policy groups, foundations that give money for research and so on?
Yeah, do it.
What do we get?
Yeah, what do we get?
Well, the answer's been staring at you right behind me. We find that right square in the center with a center.
Wow, look at that. IBM. Look at that. IBM has a 100? Like, that's the highest you could possibly get?
Neutrality score of 100 is old IBM, followed by a couple of those policy groups, followed by a couple more big corporations. But you'll notice there's also a university in there at number 7. You see
Yale University is number 7. Wow.
Yale University. And right there at number 10, or is it number 11, you see the Rockefeller Foundation, one of the organizations that gives money to universities and to policy.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah. IBM, yeah, definitely has fallen off since then. But still, a score of 100? You literally could not be more influential.
Discussion group.
According to Domhoff's theory here.
And down a little further, down about number 19, you see another policy organization called the Council on Foreign Relations. So, did you ever doubt me when I said that anything of importance was linked up with the big corporations in the United States? Isn't it right there in the numbers? Isn't this practically an exact science that I'm talking about here? Well, there's only one thing left to do, and that's to connect that big corporate network to government. And after 15 or 20 years of research,
and that's what I'm talking about. We're getting the government in on it now. We're adding a new fucking variable to our data set.
Hey, that's a piece of cake. And so what you see behind me is a mind-boggling Rube Goldberg diagram that encompasses the whole power structure. And
this is so funny, eh? Like, this is like, literally, this is the same thing that like conspiracy theorists do, right? This is the bulletin board with the strings and the Polaroids hanging off of it. But it's like, has a much more, sociological, like, academic basis to it. But I just think it's so interesting. Like, I kind of collect things like this, actually. Like, I have a few of them hanging up because I just find it so cool, so interesting that when people try to understand the world, so many people do it like this. People from all walks of life will try to be like, well, obviously, like, money flows in a direction and this and that and blah, blah, blah. But like, I think like this one is a pretty high quality one, but like, it's not fundamentally that different from shit like the Great Awakening map. Let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah. What's the coolest looking one? This one's pretty cool. The Great Awakening map, like this one's crazy. This one's for crazy people. Q, Inner Earth Civilizations, Antarctica, Ancient Aliens, the Galactic Foundation. There's several points on it where it talks about the ancient builder race. Like, but this is just a slightly maybe more cracked out version of this, right? I've been reading Capital by Marx, and David Harvey does a study of it. He does a explanation of it where he builds one of those things to explain how Marx looks at the world. This one. Like, again, this is it. This is the same thing. This is a way of understanding the world by following the money, looking at how things come across. So whether you're a Marxist or you're a slightly insane graphic designer from Thailand, I forget the guy's name, or you're Domhoff, everybody uses the same type of flow chart. It's kind of cool.
That includes both the political parties, because it's the people in this network who are the fat cats who raise the big money for both political parties. And the ideas and appointees for both political parties come from...
Speaking of Pizzagate, John Podesta and Tony Podesta are both lobbyists, right? But John Podesta is a political lobbyist, And Tony Podesta is a corporate lobbyist, and they're brothers, and they work together, and they have this connection, and they're part of this whole fucking power elite, you know? Like, it's interesting.
From this network. And if you don't believe me, just compare Nixon appointees with Carter appointees, or compare the Bush cabinet with the Clinton cabinet. The understanding of this diagram starts up there in what for you is the left-hand corner, where you see the corporate rich and the corporations. Then you see them and their money spreading out to foundations to the right. And to
I don't know if is that easy to see? Let me see if I can, maybe I can zoom in a bit. Yeah, it's not very high quality video, but here, I'll go back a bit.
Then you see them and their the left-hand corner, where you see the corporate rich and the corporations. Then you see them and their money spreading out to foundations to the right, and to think tanks and universities down below. You know, the foundations, that's like the Ford Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation. They give money to the think tanks that are right down below them, and to the policy discussion groups over to their right and near the center. Places, remember, like the Committee for Economic Development and the Council on Foreign Relations that I just mentioned. Meanwhile, of course, the university and think tank experts are pumping their ideas into the policy discussion groups and taking part in them, hoping one of the big boys will notice them and take them to Washington as advisors. This network produces PIP. It produces PIP for government. PIP stands for...
Just don't even describe it. Yeah, it produces PIP. I get it. It produces PIP.
It produces PIP. It produces PIP for government.
Okay.
PIP stands for policy, ideology, and plans. PIP is aimed to keep the corporate rich on top. It's the stuff that the White House and Congress chew on and argue about. And as you can see, this PIP now flows down to government in many ways, like through blue ribbon presidential commissions, through testimony to Congress, through articles in the Washington Post, and of course through appointments to government. Every policy we've studied fits this pattern. Now, sometimes the gang fights right on into Congress because there are...
Every policy we've studied fits this pattern. That's pretty cool. I got to get a copy of this shit for my wall.
Moderate conservatives and ultra-conservatives in this network. And that's why you'd see somebody like the Secretary of Treasury from the past that I mentioned attacking somebody like George Bush, who's only a moderate kinds of conservative. And lo and behold, sometimes the whole gang, the whole power elite, loses to liberals or to labor or to environmentalists, but not very often. Well, there you have it. The Bohemian Grove, just as I warned you at the outset, is not at the dead center of the power structure. It's off to the side just a little bit. It's just a playground for the powerful. It's not a place of power. But it does help generate the social cohesion that makes policy cohesion possible. Well, thanks for joining me on this trip through the power elite in the Bohemian Grove. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned a little bit along the way. And I want you to do me a favor. The next time you see an owl, I want you to remember the cremation of care ceremony. I want you to remember the power elite eating, drinking, and being merry at the Bohemian Grove. And then I want you to think about whether the words, the flowery words of the high priest, really mean something like the following. Oh, great owl of Bohemia, we thank our lucky stars that we are so rich and powerful. We revel in the challenges, honors, and pleasures that our wealth and connections bring to us. We greatly enjoy these opportunities to come to our own exclusive grove to remind ourselves of just how wonderful we are. We are grateful for the traditions and beliefs that keep most people from questioning the policies that so handsomely reward us. We love the theories that claim we are a natural elite who deserve everything we have. We love the theories that claim people who are poor must suffer their fate silently because they are supposedly less talented, or supposedly less able to postpone pleasure, or supposedly they didn't try hard enough. We are the men of Bohemia. We are the power elite at the Bohemian Grove.
Drink her down, drink her down.
Is that
Here's a good old beer, for it makes you feel so queer. Drink her down, drink her down, drink her down, down, down. Rolling home, get drunk by the light of the silvery moon. Rolling, 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 rolling home, get drunk. Here's a sparkling ale, cause it makes you feel so hale. Here's the good old wine, cause it makes you feel so fine. Here's the good vermouth, cause it makes you feel uncouth. Here's the booze, drink her down, down, down. Rolling.
Yo. Was it produced by his son? I didn't even see. Joel Domhoff, yeah, I guess. Yeah, must be. Cool. Oh, yeah, great fucking song. Yeah, I don't know. Like I fucking love that. I've been like reading this book. I read this book this past year, and it was probably one of my favorite books I've read, because like every fucking page, it would go over something. I'd be like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Like it really did give me a new framework to see the world with. I do think so. Love this. Love the Power Elite database. There's a page where he talks about conspiracy theories, but his general thing about conspiracies is, I think, like kind of like an overcorrection. He goes, there are no conspiracies. Like, no, there are none. Many people seem to believe that America is ruled from behind the scenes by a conspiratorial elite with secret desires. Small selective group that wants to change the government system or put the country under the control of a world government. Right. That's stupid. So many people are into that new world order, one world government sort of thing. And it's just like, no, man, that's not what it is. Alex Jones brings up NWO in his Bohemian Grove documentary. It's such a part of conspiracy culture, and it's so stupid. It's even a part of fucking Peter Thiel's whole thing, right, with the Antichrist, is that the Antichrist is going to create a one-world government. No, that isn't a fucking thing. In the past, the conspirators were usually said to be secret communist sympathizers who were intent on bringing the United States under a common world government with the Soviet Union. But the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 undercut this theory. So most conspiratorial theorists changed their focus to the United Nations as the likely controlling force in a new world order, an idea which is undermined by the powerlessness of the United Nations and the unwillingness of even moderates within the American power structure to give it anything but a limited role. For a smaller group of conspiratorial thinkers, a secret group of operatives located within the CIA was responsible for many terrible tragedies and assassinations since the 1960s, including the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Well, I mean, I feel like that one is reasonable. Problems with conspiratorial view. There are several problems with the conspiratorial view that don't fit with what we know about power structures. Now, I don't need to read this entire thing. It's kind of long. But if you're curious, please check it out. Like, this guy's website is so fucking good, and his books are great too. When we've got this social upper class who is very cohesive, they hang out with each other, they marry each other, they raise their kids to be in this group, they sit on multiple boards of directors, whatever, they're a part of the corporate community, the PPN. All of these people have certain goals in mind, right? And of course, sometimes people are going to do dishonest things to pursue those goals. Of course, that's the case. Like, what would his analysis of somebody like Jeffrey Epstein be? Or AIPAC? Or Peter Thiel? You know, like how would he reconcile that with the idea that there are no conspiracies? I mean, yes, conspiracy theorists are wrong about almost everything. No doubt. There is a problem with a conspiratorial, like, worldview where you just see conspiracies everywhere. Like, that is a problem. That is a problem, like Joe Rogan said about Alex Jones.